welcome to the latest and greatest, best episode ever, maybe, of the REI Rocketfuel Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today, I am joined by landscaper and investor extraordinaire, Mr. Drew Rainey. Drew, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, dude. Anytime. So I guess talk to the audience, kind of give yourself a little introduction. I did the best I could. I'm sure yours will be much more intimate and much cleaner and easier to understand than mine. So I know you got a landscape business. Most people don't know that. So talk to me about, I guess, how that got started, and, kind of why you got into landscaping. And then we'll kind of talk about how that turned from that into, getting into real estate from there. But let's, kind of set the stage for everybody.
Yeah. So like Lawton said, and got my hands in a few things. Landscaping for me, and honestly, it started at 12 years old. My grandparents, and that's kind of where my real estate came from as well. My grandparents had a rental property. And at 12 years old, I was kind of thrown into the fire, and they needed somebody to start mowing their rentals. And so it started with the days of the old truck and trailer. My dad would take me from yard to yard, and obviously not old enough to drive. And so from there, I learned at a young age how to run a weed eater and a mower and make sure grandma and grandpa were happy with the product. And so, like I said, it started at 12, and that, a lot was asked of me early on, more than probably your average 12-year-old. And then really from there, every year I mowed the neighbor's yard and the neighbor next to them. And now here we are. I'm 34. So I've been doing it well over 20 years. I did it every summer, in between playing baseball. And then obviously it came time to really make it a business. And so obviously there's Lawton has seen, we've been able to take on some projects for him and other customers. And so, it's been a great, Point Guard Lawn Care. Been in business with my brother and I, and involved for the past years now with that name, and pretty much the rest is history.
So it sounds like, a lot of, landscape guys that I talk to, a lot of them started young, because it is at the early stages when you're just doing mowing, there's no design or like any, rock or beds or anything like that. When it's just the mowing aspect of it, a lot of dudes get started when they're, 10, 12, 14 years old, mowing stuff in neighborhoods. Sure. But, a lot of people don't have that start that you had of, being exposed to rental properties so soon, and kind of, what Correct. They can do for you when you're the owner. So I guess talk to, like, when did it click or start to click for you of like, wait, grandma and grandpa just own this house and someone else pays for them to live there? When did all of that come together for you?
So honestly, it didn't really come to fruition. Maybe 2020 was really the first year. I spent most of my childhood and into my early 20s playing baseball and college baseball.
Oh, okay.
And so the time wasn't really there for me to invest. And obviously the money definitely wasn't there because I was not getting paid doing anything. And so the goal was always to be, play professionally. But kind of once I graduated college in 12, and then kind of the recession was hard hit right there, 2008 to 12. And I got hooked up doing some foreclosure work with some guys around town.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
That really got me going. I mean, I was going out into the sticks and cleaning out houses and changing locks and seeing all the avenues of what, these big banks were doing to these properties. So like I said, it took a few more years, but 2020 came around, and I've just, like a lot of people, the opportunity presented itself, and a partner and I decided to go buy a house at auction, and pretty much the rest is history. Flipped 6 houses up to this point, and was able to get my hands on some banking relationships and started buying some holds and became a landlord, good, bad, and the ugly. And then obviously still doing some flipping right now, but
sure.
really, that's what really kicked for me, seeing the grandpa doing it. And then, like I said, the recession in 2008, 2012, it's kind of what really got my feet wet, realizing that this could be something I do. And from every year, I've just done something more and more and more. Like I said, going into business with partners, finding houses. So it's really just every year I feel like I've kind of like taken it up a notch, kind of put it all on the table and seeing what I can do, and really not really worried about failing.
No, man, it sounds like you're the king of nurturing, whether it be, landscape or relationships. It sounds like you know how to nurture something and foster things into existence. So, I mean, not to sound too cheesy or corny, but it sounds like you're the king of nurturing stuff together. So that's a real talent.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
that a lot of people, kind of take, I don't want to say take for granted, but I think a lot of people don't recognize, I guess, how important of an aspect that is. A lot of people are like, oh, if you're your own boss or, you kind of do your own thing, you don't need networking. Like, I mean, you may not need networking with clients when you're a landlord because your clients are your tenants, but you got to have those relationships lined up and ready to go. And I mean, we've talked about it with, new investors and seasoned investors on this podcast of, when guys that have been in it for, 20, 30, 40 years, those are the guys in 2008, 9, 10, 12, they scooped up half of their portfolio in those 4 years. And it was some of the best deals that they bought, and they wish they could have bought more, but they were able to do so because they had those relationships lined up and they were ready to go. I mean, they were teed up. And when the opportunity arose, they didn't get lucky. They put themselves in that position by nurturing relationships and networking with other professionals in their sphere.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Like, that's honestly, I'll say, and I figured you might ask a question like that. And that's probably been my biggest takeaway from the last 5 years is the relationship side of things.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
huge.
really hasn't mattered who I haven't come across. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can say by far, and I haven't been a big proponent of a bunch of networking events and whatnot, but pretty much anybody I've come across, it's been a relationship that I've built that's paid dividends down the road in some aspect. Because you never know. Just like you, I met you a few years ago, and
Yeah.
here we are. I've done a couple of projects together with some landscaping stuff. So, like I said, relationships for me this whole time has been huge. It, not burning bridges, things like that, treating people the way you want to be treated. I think that's like cliche. Your mother tells you that all the time when you're growing up, but it holds, holds value. And, I've taken that to heart. I'm a people pleaser at the end of the day. And I think that's, it's paid off. I think anybody that's come across my path can probably say a good thing about me.
Right.
And so that's what I've taken away most.
Yeah. No, and that's I mean, that's one of the biggest things, is finding those relationships, not only going to the events and, doing the networking. I mean, that's one part. A lot of folks, they don't even get that far. They go to the events and they sit in the corner and they eat the food and then they leave. And, it's called networking for a reason. It's not net eat or net sit or net drink. Like, it's net work. You go there, you have objectives, you have things you want to, accomplish, a certain amount of business cards that you want to hand out, or, 5 new contacts, whatever it is, setting those goals like any other aspect in your business. When you go to events like that, that's how you, build those, stepping stones, build that path to success through that networking. And I think it's got to be one of the most underrated, underutilized pieces that I've come across with most entrepreneurs, is, they want to go to the masterminds and they want to go to the, like the group events and the meetups and stuff, but then they don't actually do fucking anything when they're there. They just sit at the table and then they leave, they eat the pizza, listen to the speaker, and then they leave. And then they're like, well, where's all my deals? I'm like, you didn't do anything. You just went there and you sat there. You could have gone out and drove or knocked on doors or cold called. Like, you could have done something else with that hour and a half, 2 hours, or you could have really done something else with that $5,000 2-day mastermind in Scottsdale. Like, you could have done a lot more with that earlier on in your business. So I'm not I'm not shitting on masterminds. I'm not, saying that people that do that are dumb. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think there's tremendous value in stuff like that. What I am saying is people that go to it and just sit there and think that, that it's like osmosis, that like if you just stand next to people that are doing deals, you'll start doing deals. Like, nah, you still got to go and you still got to do the work. You have to do something with that information that you get. So I'm, networking is on one piece, and I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent here, but the networking and the
You're good.
getting people's contact information into your phone is one thing. And most people don't get that far. So people out there that are doing that, you're taking the right step. Good for you. Like, you're at least getting off your ass and going and shaking hands and exchanging information. That's step one. Then you got to nurture those relationships. You got to water them, give them sunlight. Like, you got to do something with that to stay in front. Like, get in front of the people that you want to do business with. Stay top of mind. Stay present. There's so many things you can do to take that seed of meeting someone for the first time and foster it into these relationships. I mean, it sounds like you've done it over the last few years, and I've done it as well. Like, bankers in town, it's like, they see me and they're like, okay, you're 23 years old. You've been self-employed your whole life. We don't want to touch you with a 10-foot freaking pole on real estate loans. Get away from me. And, because of those relationships, I was kind of able to wedge into here where, the bankers have all but told me, like, it's risky with you, and we know that, but, we're not betting on Lawton right now. We're betting on Lawton in 10 years, in 20 years. And what do we want our relationship and lending portfolio to look like with him over the years? And that's not just for me, but it came from networking and nurturing those relationships and showing up and doing what I say I'm going to do when I'm going to do it for these bankers. So, you kind of build a track record. They see the projects that you have done and that you follow through and that you meet your deadlines, whatever it is. You've got to build that relationship, and then you got to prove it. And that's
100%.
Yeah. And that's really been the only reason, a few years ago when I first started, that there was a shot in hell that I was getting a 25 year, term loan on some rental property, was strictly based on the relationships I had built, and they were willing to take a risk on, hey, worst case, we get the real estate back, but best case, we build a relationship with this guy and he continues to buy. And I still use those bankers today because they were the ones that were there that, took a chance on me when a lot of others wouldn't even take the call. And I've still got those relationships today.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the same thing with me. My first banking, relationship came from, I played basketball in the mornings at the rec, and president of a bank was there. And cool. I could tell it really wasn't the deal that he was invested in. It was me that he was invested in, and realizing that, I see this guy comes out here every day, gets after it. I can work with that. I can work with that person. And so I'd say that's a big proponent. And keeping those relationships, doing what you say you're going to do, email back when they email you questions, paying on time, like all those things add up. And so, I think that's been the biggest key for me with these relationships as far as, doing what I'm saying I'm going to do. And like I said, I've continued to show them what I'm going to do, and they've continued to give me more money. So
it's
worked out.
A good relationship then.
Yeah. Can't complain.
Cool. So, we've now talked layers of, I guess, how you got started. Why did you get started? Why did you decide ultimately, after being around it for so many years, like, why did you finally decide to say, okay, enough's enough. It's time that I get into real estate too?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I kind of go back on what I said. I had big aspirations of playing professionally, and obviously that those dreams came and went real quick. And then at that point, I hadn't really held a 9-to-5. Got a degree, but at the back of my mind, I didn't want to live. There was a certain lifestyle and a certain way I wanted to live my life, and that just kept weighing on me. I even heck at one point, I worked at Casey's for a hot second, but it's just those times in my life that I was like, you know what, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'd done the lawn care, I'd done the foreclosure things, which were all working for myself. And at the end of the day, that's really what my goal was wanting to do. Obviously, having two little girls and a beautiful wife has really propelled me over the last few years to really dig deeper than I ever thought I could. And being that present father and being that present husband, to be available to do whatever we wanted to do. And kind of we're getting to the tip of the iceberg here, where I think I'm just kind of starting to see true potential and what
Yeah.
real estate can do. And I think the sky's the limit. I don't see any there's no going back now. And I like the life we're living now. And that's really ultimately what it was for me. I had a life I envisioned years ago, and I said I can do this through real estate. I don't have to be a professional baseball player. I can get the same life I wanted, just probably a little bit more work in
Yeah.
some aspect, but
Yeah.
that's really why I'm doing it. I want to be able to make my own schedule. I want to be my own boss really at the end of the day, even though I do work with people and I have partners, but that's
Yeah.
one thing. So that's really why I want to do it. I want to have my freedom. I wanted to be able to I wanted to call the shots, you could say.
Yeah. And man, I mean, that's definitely a common theme on this podcast. It's, at one point or another, everyone, takes that leap. They make that decision of fuck this, like nuts on the table, ass on the line, betting it all, let's go. And
Yep.
then that first rent check hits and you're like, okay, I got to go do this 1,000 times because this is
Exactly.
awesome. And it's like, I will never forget like the first time I got a rent check. And like I've told people a ton, like $650 changed my life. Not the $650, but I saw that someone paid and then it paid the bank and there was something left over for me. And I didn't have to do anything. And I was like, all right, that's it. Like I had read all the books and heard everybody because I've always only been in real estate ever since I was 18. And I'd been around it enough. The old guys are like, oh, we need to buy our real estate. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And then I did it and I was like, oh man, like I bought my first one when I was 21. And I wish I had started earlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have started any earlier. I didn't have any money, but man, I wish I would have started earlier. And everyone says that all the time. And they always laugh at me because they're like, you were 21. What do you mean you would have started earlier? I'm like, man, I could have figured out a way. Like I could have gone and got a seller carry on a duplex and lived in one side, rented out the other. Like I could have done so much more. I lost 2 years on the, on the investing front, but I'd chalk it up to tuition. I learned the industry, during that time. But I mean, that's there is that just that first initial jump and it's terrifying. And then something works.
Yep.
Try 10,000 things, and none of them work, but you don't need all of them to work. You need one thing to go right. And then it does. And you're like, yep, there's the proof of concept. And then you're off from there. You're hooked. Absolutely.
Yes. 100%. No, that's what it was for me. Like I said, first house I bought was on the market, and I guess it was a foreclosure and there was too much interest in it. So they decided they're going to take it to auction. And I really had no business jumping on an auction and throwing down money, but I had the bank's backing. And I said, this deal says all cash. And he's like, well, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
And so we went for it and bid it up and almost got the same price we offered. So anyway, that was the scariest point for me. And I don't even know if I really told my wife that's how we ended up buying it. She knew I was looking for a house, but the fact that I told her I went and deposited some earnest money down, just to get logged in and sat on there. And next thing I know, we bought a house, and that was it.
Woo. Woo.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to take those risks. And I mean, that's the, like to move the conversation, I guess, kind of in a different direction, but still the same.
Sure.
A lot of, a lot of entrepreneurs that see success relatively early after they decide to make that leap, like the ones that see the hockey stick growth, at least that I've seen specifically in real estate, are the ones who were athletes at a high level at some point, because they understand
Sure.
that, you've always had to rely on you. You had a job to do on the baseball field, and it was your responsibility to train and practice and work on your craft so that you could be the best at your position when it came time for the game and when it came time for practice and fighting for a spot. Like, you've always only ever, whether it's a team sport or not, you've always only ever counted on you and yourself. And I think that builds a certain confidence and belief in yourself all throughout the years, little by little, where when it comes time to say, I can fucking do this. I've been doing this my whole life. I've only ever bet on myself, and I always come through. I make mistakes and I fall down, whatever, but end of the day, stand back up, keep going kind of thing. I'm always there at the end. I'm always standing. And I think a lot of former athletes, you see a lot of guys get into sales in one form or fashion. They're in insurance, they're in real estate, they're in investments, whatever it is. A lot of them end up in sales and they end up excelling because they've only ever had to rely on themselves. And now they get to do the same thing, but get paid for it.
Yeah, 100%. I told myself a lot. I do take away my time playing baseball and playing a team sport. And like you said, working my ass off all through those years, that this is really, at the end of the day, it's easy. If you really step back, this is easy compared to what I used to have to do.
Right.
Now, I mean, because what we did is, playing baseball, that was a grind. And this is a grind, but it's a different grind. And it's just a way you shift your mentality, honestly.
100%.
It's the same thing, and working with contractors and vendors and bankers, it's like working with teammates.
Right.
And so, being able to have that aspect in my life, I think I tell people all the time that I appreciate my time where I played, and I don't take that for granted, because it's really, I think, had it not been for that level of play that I had, I don't know if I'd be the same person mentally, you know what I mean? And I do take away that everything I'm doing right now is a reason that I've been able to get to where I am because of that background.
Heard. I mean, you've got to give a lot of credit to that, like your past as an athlete, that, competitive drive, that want to be better, and the mental capacity to know in your heart of hearts that you can, like, your circumstances can change and you have the power to change it. Like, if you want more, like, you don't like that you don't get the same amount of playing time as the guy ahead of you at shortstop, get better and you'll play more than him. The formula is very simple. Executing on it is very, very hard. And that, I think, is like real estate. Like, you buy it low and you fix it up, and you sell it higher and you make the difference. Or your payment to the bank is this, the rent needs to be this, so you can make the difference in between. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
All the moving pieces put together to make all that happen is what makes it so complicated. And that is like any other sport. You don't like that you're riding the bench, get better, and then you won't ride the bench. Okay, but how do you get better? What do I need to get better at? How can I get better at that one thing specifically this week, and the next week get better at something else? And that's you're just constantly piecing things together, adding more tools to the tool belt, adding more relationships, and you just continue to evolve and grow and perfect your craft, because you come into it so raw. You just don't know anything. And it's so hard if people are like, well, just ask questions. I'm like, I don't know what questions to ask. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And that is probably one of the most complicated parts about real estate investing is all the moving parts involved with it.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with a great partner, and like I said, learning from those days on the field, learning from mistakes. I didn't do the best at the time, learning from those mistakes, but now as an adult and being in this world, there's some takeaways from those times. And so when you do make mistakes at this level, you kind of know how to fix them, or like I said, what questions to ask now. And I think that's been, I said, obviously the maturity comes with that too. Time
Sure.
in
Yeah.
college, you're not mature enough to know how to fix mistakes. So, like I said, as an adult, and obviously with your ass on the line, it's your name on that mortgage, and so that really puts you back up against the wall. And it's like, well, if I don't figure it out, nobody will.
That's right.
And so, yeah, no, it's definitely. And honestly, I appreciate the pressure now. I like the pressure. I kind of like being thrown in certain fires.
Yeah.
I like vendors. I don't like vendors not showing up or charging me more than they're going to charge me.
Yeah.
But those are all variables and things that I feel like if you don't have any will to want to learn or figure out, yeah, you will fall on your ass. But
Right.
now, so I almost appreciate the camaraderie with working with vendors and bankers and other relationships I have. I do. I think that's probably my best trait with this is, like I said, relationships and being able to talk to people and be persuasive and knowing what to say and when not to say it. I think those are some of my biggest takeaways to date on just dealing with people and knowing how to deal with people.
Yeah. It's a contact sport, and
Yeah,
it is a people business. And, there's like, if you can't handle the good, or if you can't handle the bad that comes with that, then you don't deserve the good that comes with it either. So
yep,
you in the wrong business, dog.
yeah, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt. So yeah, it's everything's going good, and like I said, I hope that we can continue to trend upwards. And like I said, sky's the limit. I don't really see. Hopefully, these damn interest rates come down like everybody else is wishing for.
Yeah.
But all things that go up must come down. Even the good. Even the good times we're having right now. Something's gonna fall on its face, but it's how you respond and how you react to it. And are you ready to crawl yourself back out of a hole if you need to?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree, man. I couldn't agree more. Well said. So enough about your landscape business. On to the real
Sure.
estate side of things. What
Okay.
what kind of properties are you buying? Where are you buying them? Are you mainly focused on rentals? Are you wholesaling? Are you doing creative deals? Are you flipping? Like, what's your like main focus right now?
Man, I'll be honest with you. You may know a little bit of this right now, but I'm really trying to dive deep. I have a couple flips going on right now, and obviously with interest rates, trying to find the best deals as far as buy and holds. Obviously, as everybody knows, those are hard to come by right now. So I've been digging deep into the wholesale side of things. Obviously, kind of sharpening my knife a little bit, as you could say, too, because I know that'll translate into better deals.
Yeah.
And if I can figure out the wholesale game, I think that really encompasses everything. Because if you can find some wholesale deals, well, then maybe those are deals you should keep or flip yourself or hold. And then
Yeah.
obviously, too, in my situation, I'm trying to build some capital and kind of separate myself. So I would say wholesaling right now is probably up there with trying to flip a house right now, going into the winter. Building that capital, getting some good reserves set, and then maybe I'll be ready for a good collapse and being able to throw some money at something. But yeah, wholesaling right now is what I'm really trying to hone in on.
Yeah. I mean, I love wholesaling. It's a huge piece of our business here at One Roof. I mean, it's 150 to 200 assignment deals a year over here.
Sure.
So it's a huge piece of our operation locally here. And so I'm a little biased. I love it. What I
Yeah.
actually love about it from like an intrinsic value standpoint to a real estate entrepreneur is whether you do 5 wholesale deals in your life or 5,000 wholesale deals in your life, there's something to be said for the skills that you acquire to be able to do them. And it like being able to source and negotiate and acquire or analyze and acquire off-market, deeply discounted real estate is always going to be a skill that will be in high demand. And
Yeah,
if you
for
can
sure.
figure out a way to consistently do that, if you do one a month, if you do one of those a month for $5,000, that's 60 grand a year. That is a hell of a fucking side hustle.
Yeah,
If you
no
do,
doubt.
if you do one of them, but you don't assign it and you keep it as a rental, that's 12 houses a year. 5 years, 60 doors. Like it is an incredibly scalable and low barrier to entry thing to start. Yeah. And you can leave it as a side hustle and just do a handful of deals every year, or you can ratchet it up and turn it into a machine that's constantly spitting out deals and spitting out checks. And that's, that to me, and I've said it before on this podcast in different episodes, that's my favorite thing about real estate, even more than leverage, is the different exit strategies. If you analyzed it the right way and you bought it or contracted on it at a good price and you bought it deep enough, you can do whatever you want with it. You can refi it out, keep it as a rental. You can sell it after you fix it up. You can put it on the market and sell it to an end buyer if it's in decent enough condition and wholesale it. You can novate it. You can assign it. Like, there's so many different exit strategies, and none of them are right and none of them are wrong. It's strictly based on you and what kind of cash you have laying around, and whether you want to build up capital or whether you want to build cash flow by buying rental properties. Like, real estate can solve so many problems for people, but it starts with the skill set needed to be able to to source and identify and analyze and contract on or buy or acquire, whatever word, an off-market, deeply discounted piece of real estate. If you know what you're looking for and you're ready to go and you can jump on it when the opportunity's there, you don't have a ceiling, because that's never, ever, 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 ever going out of style.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, that's really what my bread and butter is right now. I'm trying to hone in on. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be able to get some deals lately, and yeah, like I said, it's kind of to me, I'm kind of addicted to it because I love being able to get the quick cash.
Yeah,
And like I said, really, what I'm trying to figure out is get the good skill set to acquire. And kind of once I do that and build some capital, like I said, I have the choice.
right.
I can keep some more rentals. Damn fly, sorry. but yeah, that's really what I'm trying to figure out. Because once I can get good at that, then I can. Then if I can acquire a wholesale deal tomorrow, well, then I'm really not worried about finding deals.
Right.
And I know if I'd rather wholesale this and make a few grand and move on from it. And I've got some cash in my pocket, and maybe the next deal will come around the next week that I want to keep. So that's been the bread and butter lately, trying to figure that out, especially going into the winter, not sure what the climate's going to be like with the market and everything. And I thinking more people may want to try to get out of their situation. And, we have the whole deal with baby boomers, unfortunately falling off, and so I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity out there. And I think wholesaling, like you said, there's zero entry pretty much. I mean, there's so many groups out there and so many people that are looking to buy that don't care to wholesale.
Yeah.
And so I think, as an early new investor, even as a seasoned investor, I think wholesaling is a great skill to have.
So with all that said, how do you see, you've got your crystal ball. How do you see your strategies on that changing in the next, let's say Q1 of next year? Because, you kind of already talked about, getting through the winter, stacking up some cash, keeping your acorns in. Then what?
Yeah, really for me, I mean, I like flipping. I will say, as they can be headaches at times, and so can being a landlord.
Sure.
But I think for me, especially at the age I am, which I'm not old yet, but I really would like to start acquiring more rentals.
Yeah.
and setting those aside and getting to a point where it makes sense to do that full time.
Yeah.
And just, like I said, I saw my grandparents do it from a young age, and I saw the life they were able to live and have. And so I don't see any reason why not to go out and get 100 doors.
Yeah.
Like I said, my property management background the past 5 years, I pretty much oversaw 1,600 units, at a given point. And I've seen the headaches that come with that. I'd say, well, 100 doors is nothing.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
100 and 100 doors to an individual, that's easily manageable,
Right.
but also that's life changing, amount of money every month. And that,
Absolutely.
I think that's going to be the goal. Get to as many doors as possible and, be able to, like I said, the biggest thing for me is being available for my kids and wanting to be able to attend every event, pick them
Yeah.
up from school. That's really where it hits home for me,
I
is
hear you.
setting myself up, setting my family up to be able to do those things and not have to ask any questions.
I hear you, man. That's, we just had a contractor quit their job yesterday, with a different, I'm a construction firm, and I move over to work for one of our guys because he took an hour so he gets an hour for lunch every day. And he took an hour and 30 on this day because instead of going to lunch, he went to a doctor's appointment. And I'm like, why? Like, you had to choose between eating and going to a doctor's appointment on his birthday. On his birthday. He's working as a contractor for this guy. He turns 26. He's getting kicked off of his parents' insurance tomorrow. He, instead of going to lunch, goes to a doctor's appointment, his last one on his parents' insurance before he gets kicked off because his employer doesn't provide it. So he goes to the doctor. He's a half hour late back to the job site, gets obliterated by his boss in front of the whole crew. And he quit, and he is working for us starting today. And
those are the things I don't like hearing. I mean, there's too many opportunities out there for people that can't be stuck to a job, especially with those circumstances. I mean, that's just another prime reason why this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Yeah, 100%. Like that, it made me sick. Like, I felt bad for the guy, but at the same time, I was like, God, I am so, like, it just reinstates of like, man, on my worst days of being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, I literally cannot imagine doing anything else. Like, people are like, okay, if you weren't in real estate, what's your dream job? I'm like, man, I'm doing it. Like, this is it. What are you talking about? Like, I don't have an answer. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I literally don't have an answer other than I don't know, because I've never put a second thought to it.
Yep. No, that's where I'm at now. I really don't have any other aspirations.
Tester, I guess. Like, I would do quality control for like a private jet company. If they want to fly me around to like different resorts, I would do quality control. Like, a travel blogger, I guess. Like, like if the Four Seasons wants to pay me to come and review their new 9-star resort in Bali, I'll give it a shot, I guess. Like, that sounds like fun. But other than that, I'd rather just my real estate pay for me to go to Bali.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, no shit. I will let you know if I get any inquiries on that. If by chance we have any kind of chief marketing officers for some 5-star resorts listening in, Drew and I are available if you need us.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. But before I do, what's your best piece of advice that you can give to a new investor? As a newer-ish investor yourself, what's the best piece of advice you'd give to a new investor?
I'd say the best piece of advice is something I taught myself over the last several years is, I know you said it, not everybody knows what question to ask, but don't be afraid to ask questions, or don't be afraid to go offer on that house or ask the person that you're scared to ask. Because one thing I've learned lately in the last several years is the worst thing that somebody's going to tell you is no.
Yeah.
And I
100%.
mean, for me, I know this is cliche again, but for every no that you get from somebody, you're just that much closer to somebody yet saying yes or giving you that piece of information that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing is you can't be scared. You can't be afraid to get turned down. You just got to keep getting back up and don't be afraid to be told no. That's the biggest proponent. I tell my wife that all the time, and she agrees. I don't know where this guy is, very inverted, still kind of am, but I'm not afraid to ask questions. And I'm definitely not afraid of being told no. And when you tell me no, you're just going to get much more of a dog out of me.
Yeah.
And like I said, and that's just lately that's just been my MO. Like I said, you can tell me no, but you're not going to get I'm not going to go away very easily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's my biggest advice. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even though you don't know what those questions are, and don't be afraid to be told no. I think that's just too many people are too timid. They're afraid of failure. They're scared, but don't be afraid to be told no. That's the biggest takeaway I can give you from a new person looking at this or watching this. Just be excited. Go after it. Don't be afraid to be told no.
I love it.
That's really all I got for you.
I love it. Shit, that's all you got. That's all we need. You nailed it, man. Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you again for joining us today. I know you're a busy guy. I'm sure you're happy to get off the mower today and get in and hop into the AC and hop on this call with me. So it's 100
Damn hot. I appreciate it.
It's 109 degrees out today, but I'm sure you knew that. So
oh yeah.
Whew, God bless you. And thank you for all the work that you guys are doing on our projects. All of our stuff looks great. If people want to get a hold of you to either sell you a deal or get in contact with you because they have landscaping needs, how can they do it?
You can get a hold of me myself, 316-648-1393, or you can email me at ozventuresllc316@gmail. That's ozventures316llc316@gmail.com.
Nailed it. And the landscape company is, shameless plug,
Point Guard Lawn Care.
Woo! Point Guard Lawn Care. I got a stack of invoices right here on my desk that I need to sign some checks for. So shout out.
There we go.
Shout out Point Guard Lawn Care. Drew, thanks again, man. You have a good one. Stay cool out there.
Thanks a lot.